about doing the Essential Eric Carmen album is that probably 50% or more of my very best songs were never released as singles, and most people have never heard them. They were buried on an album that may or may not have been that successful, and on that album, I got to help pick which ones were going to be there. And so there are certain songs in there that are favorites of mine. Like there's a song called Desperate Fools, which was just piano, my voice, strings written by a great arranger named David Campbell, who is Beck's father, and a harmonica played by a very unassuming guy named Tommy Morgan, who came in a little windbreaker on, looked like just got out of his pickup, walked in, played this beautiful melody, and that's all there is to it. And I didn't intend for the song to be a hit single because it didn't conform to the standards of what hit singles most people think they are, and certainly what most record companies think they are. But every so often I would do what I call a no compromise record, and it would either just not have drums, or I just did it exactly the way I wanted it to be. And some of those songs showed up on the Essential Eric Carmen album, and I thought, what would be wonderful is if people actually did buy this. In 1975, I had just quit the Raspberries, and I was looking for a new label to record my first solo album. And I told my manager at the time that I didn't want to make demos because first I wanted people to see the whole package, which you don't get just listening to a cassette tape. I wanted people to some record labels to actually see me perform my songs. And secondly, because I have a terrible habit of singing my demos better than I ever can sing them again, because they're very fresh. And chasing a demo is the worst thing ever, and I've done it my entire life. So basically, my manager put the word out there, and Columbia and Warner Brothers and everybody said, send demos, send demo tapes, send demo tapes. And when it got to Arista, the newly formed Arista Records, Clive got on a plane and flew to Cleveland. And he sat in my apartment where there was a piano, a couple of chairs, and a big stereo system on the 19th floor overlooking frozen Lake Erie. And I played him probably 3/4 of my first solo album just on the piano. Sunrise, and to That's Rock and Roll, into Never Gonna Fall in Love Again, into All By Myself.
Very devastating news coming in this exact moment in time. The legend that is Eric Carmen, famous for being the frontman of the huge and of course legendary band that is the Raspberries, and of course for multiple solo hit songs throughout the 70s, 80s, and of course 90s, up to even lately in the 2000s, has passed away, according to the statement that was released by his family on his official website. As you can see on the screen, the family came out to reveal in a very touching and heartbreaking statement, and the wife who actually wrote that statement said that it's with tremendous sadness that we share the heartbreaking news of the passing on of Eric Carmen. And of course, our sweet, loving and talented Eric passed away in his sleep over the weekend. It brought him huge and of course great joy to know for so many decades that his music has touched so many lives, and of course will be his long-lasting legacy. She further continued and said, please respect the family's privacy as we mourn our enormous loss. No further details were shared about the circumstances that led to Eric's death. And of course, there was no known health ailments at the time which had led to, him being maybe hospitalized and, of course, passing on. So the legend, we all know he made so many huge songs. For me personally, I love basically two songs, Love Is That Matters and, of course, Hungry Eyes. For me personally, I do think Hungry Eyes is one of his greatest songs. If at all, it's not part of the 50 greatest hit songs we've ever received on this globe. So, I was the interviews you watched, the two interviews you watched at the beginning, where in one of them, he was talking about how he made that song, which I personally love, known as Love Is All That Matters. You know, he said at the time that when he decided to write that song, nobody believed in him, and of course, not even a single person thought that he would make a song that would later become one of the biggest songs of the 80s and, of course, the 90s. He said that he had to fuse in lots of drums, lots of piano, lots of instruments, to make that song. And of course, so many people at the time, so many artists at the time were so much into rock and roll. But for him, he said, no, I'm going to do something which I believe will be very good to the listeners. Of course, he had made a couple of demos at a time, before he even became big. But he said, no, 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 I cannot continue making demos. I cannot continue, doing stuff that is half baked. My fans or my potential people who will love me would really need something which is really soothing and nice when you listen to it. And by the way, that song, even up to now, when you happen to listen to it, it's as if it's just been produced, but this song has over 40 to 35 years. So, he said in that interview that he had to believe in himself. And by the way, it's a lesson we have to learn from him, that for those who are talented, for those who are, doing certain crafts, those who are doing certain things, believe in yourself always. Don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to what the people say. If you really think that whatever you're going to do will come out well, go ahead and proceed with that, and of course it will turn out well. So it's a lesson I learned from him, because this is a song that actually was to make or break him, and of course it eventually made him one of the most known stars this world has ever graced. So we are sending our prayers, messages of sympathies to the fans, to the family, Amy the wife, and of course everyone who was really very close to Eric. Rest in power, the king, Eric Kameni.